Hi, everybody. Good Sunday evening to you. Hope you're doing well. It's region weather meteorologist Matt Wentz. We've got a lot to talk about here, obviously, in the forecast. We're going to do some nowcasting right now to kind of let you know where the storm system sits, who's being impacted by it, if it's behaving as we expected it to. We're also going to talk about long range. We've got another winter storm potential later on this week into the following weekend, what looks to be a continued cold month of January through the long range. So multiple storm chances and snow chances coming our way. Any snow that we get over the next really 2 weeks or so at least is going to stick on the ground for some time. It's like winters of old. Problem is, I mean, for a lot of people, we haven't had a lot of snow here recently, right? We don't have a lot of snow on the ground. We don't have a lot of snow on the ground across a lot of the Midwest, but that's changing. We've got more snow from Kansas over towards areas of southern Illinois and into Indiana than we do in areas like Minnesota and Wisconsin. It's kind of backwards the way things are flipped with this winter storm. But anyway, we'll cover it all for you here in the forecast. I want to say hi to our early birds here. Deb is the first one on board tonight. Deb, quick trigger figure there. That's great. Hi, Deb. Good to be with you tonight. Mary's with us. Hi, Mary. Hope you're doing well. Reedmo's joining us this afternoon. We could still call it that. Yeah, we're doing an earlier broadcast tonight. Obviously, I have to cover this winter storm on air tomorrow morning, so I've got a little bit of earlier of a turn-in time tonight. So I do appreciate you guys joining me a little bit early. Now, listen, if you are watching this on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel a little bit later in the evening, right now it's 5:52 Central Time here on this Sunday. But if you're watching this a little bit later, this information is not going to be outdated, all right? This winter storm and the forecasting that we're going to do here in the forecast are, not going to be outdated here on the Sunday evening. So if you're watching it 8, 9 o'clock, totally fine. We appreciate you spending your time with us. All right, I'm going to start us off with a radar here. Let me quickly go through our sponsors, Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. Guys, if you need a new car and if you want four-wheel drive, especially with some really good, great-looking Jeeps for this 25 season, Grieger's is your place to go. Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram right there on US 30 in Valparaiso. Kate Cusack for Ruoff Mortgage. If you need a lender to either help buy maybe a new home, or perhaps you're looking for your dream home, or maybe you're just looking to refinance as rates come down, make Kate your girl. She's just awesome. Everyone loves her that works with her. And she knows that, a lot of us have overspent for the holiday season. We're in save mode. There are other ways you may be able to tap in your home's equity to get some financing or to help pay for some of those bills at a much lower percentage rate because you earned it. I mean, you've been paying on the house for a while and you have a lot of equity in it. You can certainly tap into that at some pretty low rates. Kate would be happy to help you go through those options, whatever those happen to be. It's Kate Cusack, Home Loan Girl, on Facebook. So check her out when you get a chance, or you can go to her website as well. Minogue.life. Michael Minogue has been just working on his expertise around the world of Medicare, Medicaid, and life insurance for decades here in the region. He's helped so many people, and several of you have messaged me saying, I'm really glad I did that, and sat down and had a consultation with him. And here's why. If you signed up for a plan via phone or online, you get the plan and you don't have time to read through all the pages, and you may have benefits that you're not even tapping into. All right. Or perhaps you are paying for life insurance and you're paying for too much and you're paying too much every month. You may be able to have ways to save money with that. Michael would be happy to sit down with you. It's Minogue.life is the website. He'd be happy to go through your plan, set up a plan for you. There are no two plans that are alike. He'll cater it to your needs and kind of what you want out of the rest of life. Minogue.life, place to go for that. Tiger Plumbing, just dropped a bunch of stuff. Hold on. All right. TigerPlumbing.net. That's our area plumber. They're just awesome. I've never met an awesome plumber before, but they're all great. Jeff and his team are just amazing. It's TigerPlumbing.net. If you have any problems in the house or with water not going where it's supposed to go, you can take a picture or a video on your phone and send it to them before they come on out. And by the way, they come out for free. They don't charge you for that. TigerPlumbing.net, place to go. And he wants us to know that with this cold weather, now's the time to protect your pipes inside the house. We don't want any burst pipes from freezing because we are below freezing. We're going to remain there for quite some time. So it's not a bad idea to open up your cabinets, especially those that are near outside walls, right? And let those faucets drip just a little bit at night. It won't ruin your water bill or anything like that. It'll help keep that water flowing through the pipes, especially if those pipes go around the outside of your house or towards that outside wall. If they're not insulated, we could start to run into some problems next couple of weeks. So that's our PSA from Tiger Plumbing. All right, speaking of PSA, publicserviceadjusting.com. If you have an insurance claim on your property, go to them first, not your insurance agency. What they'll do is they'll take your claim, they'll come out, take pictures, document it, they'll submit it to your insurance company, and your insurance company will deal with them, and they'll deal with your insurance company. You don't have to do anything except for collect a check at the end of all of it. And that check will often, and most of the time, be bigger than what you do if you just went to your insurance company. They fight for you for every single dollar that you deserve. Publicserviceadjusting.com. Our last two, Meals on Wheels of Northwest Indiana. What a great organization. They had a great turnout for people helping out during the holidays to deliver meals. They could still use some help. If you're interested in volunteering some time to deliver meals and deliver smiles in your community, it's so easy. And you pick the schedule. How much better could that be? Contact Faith Evers. I'm going to give you a phone number here. It's 219-756-3663. Again, if you're interested in volunteering some time to serve the community, you will feel great about it, and you'll deliver smiles along the way. Finally, last but not least, FBIbuildings.com is the place to go if you are interested in renovating perhaps an existing pole barn structure that you have on your property or commercial property, or if you want a new one built for your business. Please consider FBIbuildings.com. Check out their website and their Facebook page. They're awesome. And on top of being awesome, they just do amazing work. They have built these modern looking structures for businesses that are just amazing. And they've done over 20,000 of them in the Midwest. So they know what they're doing. FBIbuildings.com. All right. Thanks for letting me get through those. I certainly appreciate it. Now that we've got some more people on board, let's dive into the forecast. And want to say hi to our folks, especially our positive ones like Tom, who says 74 days until spring. There's that. So there you go, Tom. Very good. All right, so I'm going to start us off with the radar here in the region. Actually, this whole winter storm is behaving as at least we expected, and you can go back and watch our previous forecasts. I'm really happy with the way this thing's going because the models were kind of flip-flopping towards the end there in terms of how far this northern extent of snow is going to get. All right. And as of right now, that northern extent of snow has settled south of our area here in Northwest Indiana. Newton and Jasper counties are my two southern counties that we cover here. All right. We cover Lake, Porter, LaPorte, Newton, Jasper, Stark counties. That's our coverage area. Okay. That's where all our local businesses are as well. But in terms of the snowfall, it's settled just south of those counties, and that's exactly where we expected to line up. The HRRR yesterday brought it north and brought 8 to 9 inches into Newton and Jasper County, and we said not so fast on the broadcast. But this is behaving much differently down towards Indianapolis. There's lots of snow down there, and then it becomes an ice problem south of the city. We're not seeing a lot of icing in the city itself right now, but I know a lot of you have friends and family, and you've messaged me, are they okay to drive here? Are they okay to drive here? What time is good in that? And it's a mess down here. It really is. But you see the radar, some of these pinks, this is indicative of where that sleet and that freezing rain is mixing in. All sorts of problems in terms of icing as you go further downstate into northern Kentucky. That's where the ice storm was expected. That's where the ice storm is, and it's ongoing, and we're not close to being done yet. That's the problem. So what you have here is going to continue. We may see this icing line move just a bit further north over the next couple hours as that low pressure comes in. There's some warm air aloft that's going to try to get north. It should stall there and then head back down to the south, which would turn it all back over to snow. But Indianapolis itself could get into some mixing action over the next couple hours. We'll have to keep on that line. As we head off towards the north, though, I'm going to switch radars on you here. I know there's a lot of labels on here, so stick with me in terms of where we are. We'll try to help you out. But I'm going to switch radars over here to the radar coming out of Romeoville. And you notice that we don't have a lot of snow falling, all right? And we weren't expecting a lot of snow to fall. Just a few periodic snowflakes have been falling from time to time. We've seen some hit or miss snowflakes in the Rensselaer area, heading up towards Plymouth. Overall, you can see a lot of the snow trying to make its way in. And you know what's winning out? It's what we talked about yesterday. That dry air is eroding this snow as it moves in. So there's actually snow falling for a lot of us up in the air, but it's evaporating before it hits the ground for a lot of folks. And you can tell that when you look at like the Indianapolis radar, it shows snow over us. But remember that radar beam shooting higher in the sky. Whereas we look at the Romeoville radar, and that radar beam's lower because the radar is closer. So we're picking up snow in the sky over us from Indianapolis radar. And then from the radar that's closest to us that points more towards the ground, there's no snow. So that tells us it's evaporating before it hits the ground, which makes total sense. That happens when you have a northeast wind with these storm systems. You tend to have a lot of dry air kind of eroding it. I do think that dry air will start to erode. So I do expect, and again, per our forecast earlier this morning that we put out, I do expect some snow shower activity to develop as we go throughout the latter half of this evening into tonight. I do think some of us are going to wake up, if you park the car outside, with a little bit of a coating of snow on area windshields and roads and all that stuff if they're not treated. I'm not expecting a lot of snow, but this system isn't going to be totally clean. It's not going to be completely clean in terms of dry air being in here. We're going to have some patches of snow that develop as this comes on up. So I do expect some snow to work in here overnight. Just know that. Nothing to write home about. I would say mainly an inch or less, all right, for most locations. So that's really all I have in terms of this. So let me change over towards, I'm going to change something here. You get a big piece of my mug here, but I'm going to share something else here and we'll look at some maps. All right, here's the system as a whole. That was a lot more efficient than it usually is. Usually that takes a lot of time. So I don't know, it must be coffee or something like that. Here's our system as a whole in terms of moisture. There is severe weather, and they are expecting tornadoes. They've already had numerous tornado warnings down in areas of Louisiana, Mississippi. I mean, this is a classic winter storm. It really is a classic, and it's affecting a good portion of the country that hasn't really seen a winter storm in a good 3 or 4 years. Stretching from areas of Kansas where they've had blizzard warnings where the wind is to areas of southern Illinois, southern Indiana, and it stretches over into DC. DC hasn't had a decent winter storm of 6 or more inches in several years as well. So these are areas that just haven't been hit. I mean, we really haven't had winter the last couple winters. It hasn't felt like it. So it's back. That's what winter's saying. But you can see how we still have this appendage of moisture here on the backside. This is what brings us our various snow chances tonight. And then eventually what we'll see is some lake effect kicked up once this low pressure swings by. Okay, so that's the system as a whole. This is a messy looking map. Again, I'm all about presentation. This doesn't present well, but I do want to show you. This is the state of Indiana. Here's Indianapolis. This is from INDOT. And you can see some of the cameras here. I'm just going to kind of flip through them. This is what the interstates look like down by Indianapolis, all right? It's a slow go. It's not impassable or impossible to drive on area roadways, but they're covered. I mean, they're covered, and there's a layer of ice on there as well from where it initially melted. You can see, I mean, there's just snow cover on the roads, okay? This is a good winter storm for areas downstate, and you can see, I mean, there's no camera that really shows anything else other than just snow-covered roads, all right? And there's a lot of ice under here too. So kind of slick travel down there for sure, but in terms of it being impossible to drive if you have friends or family members that are coming up from that way or maybe heading that way, I wouldn't recommend it. We haven't recommended it, but overall, it is doable. And some people are better winter weather drivers than others, and I'm totally aware of that. So if someone's a really good winter weather driver, they can certainly make it through this. But I just wouldn't recommend it because there's no break. There's no break in this. Once you get downstate, you go east, west, south, it just continues with that ice and the snow. All right. And that snowfall is going to get heavier as you get south of Indianapolis. I mean, we start putting 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches of snow where it's not getting plowed very often. That's where it becomes problematic, where you run into that risk of getting stuck, all right, outside of the slide offs and all that stuff. So travel highly not recommended downstate, but it's not impassable, okay? All right, let's talk about where this storm system goes. So here it is right now as we go through time. Here's what I'm talking about. As this low heads to the east overnight, here's the lake effect that gets going. The lake effect won't bother us, but there's going to be just this appendage on the backside of some snow showers, some kind of hit or miss snows. You might get a little area of snow that moves in, maybe moderate at times, briefly, and then it'll go light, and then it'll go away. And that's kind of what we're expecting overnight tonight. Here's tomorrow morning as you're waking up. Most of the system snow is starting to move on out. We'll still have some snowflakes flying in areas of Illinois and central Indiana down towards the south. Still dealing with some leftover freezing rain and sleet as you get down towards the Evansville area into northern Kentucky. And then this is Monday morning, tomorrow morning, right? And then tomorrow midday may have some snow showers around here. But what we're going to be watching really hasn't changed in the forecast. We're still expecting a band of some pretty decent lake effect snow to develop out over Lake Michigan on that northeast wind. And that snow will be targeting areas of southern Wisconsin and extreme northeastern Illinois, up by the Winnetka area as you get up towards Racine, Wisconsin, kind of in that bend. We're expecting that band of snow to kind of target. That's during the day tomorrow. Can't rule out a few stray snow showers with maybe some kind of secondary band that tries to develop here. I don't see that being a big deal. This is going to be the main show in terms of lake effect. But what we're expecting is what we've been talking about last couple of days. Again, and if there's a change in the forecast, I'll tell you, there's not. If you joined us last night, I certainly appreciate that. We did a bonus broadcast last night, and this is exactly everything we talked about. And in terms of that snowfall band, here's a change. It does look more intense than it did yesterday, okay? But this is still for areas that are to our west. And so this is tomorrow, midday into the afternoon. We've got, says the HRRR, a pretty intense snow band, and this is all lake effect that's coming into now the Chicago area. And this may impact that evening rush hour tomorrow, all right, for Chicago. And then as we go into tomorrow evening and then tomorrow night, that's when it starts to move into areas of Lake County. All right. And it could be briefly heavy at times. I'm still not going to change snow total forecasts. I still think a couple inches ought to do it out of this at best. And the reason why is just going to be so brief. So once it gets here tomorrow evening, watch how quickly it starts to swing through. It enters Lake County there tomorrow evening, and then it starts to move out towards the east 6 hours later. So it's out of Lake County 6 hours later. This is getting into the overnight. So we're now talking about 2 a.m. Or so. And then you can see 3, 4, 5 a.m. It's out of here. All right. So it's out of here for that morning rush hour or leaving for that morning rush hour on Tuesday. And again, I don't think it's going to drop a lot of snow. I do think we may have, an hour or two of some reduced visibilities where things slicken up. I mean, it doesn't take much. 1 or 2 inches of snow on an untreated surface is slick. All right. To me, that's the same as driving with 5 or 6 inches of snow on an untreated surface. It's slippery, right? And sometimes people get a false sense of security when there's not a lot of snow on the ground. So it could still cause some problems. And again, this would be tomorrow evening, should be just after that evening rush hour. We'll have to keep our eye on it for Lake County. But this lake effect band would come in from Chicago. We would see it on radar, and then it would gradually work out towards the east. Okay. That's kind of what we're looking at tomorrow. So, again, we've been saying it. I don't want to keep saying that we've been saying something, but we have been, in terms of that lake effect being really the biggest impact from this whole storm system. And it's not really tied to the storm system. It kind of is with the wind flow, but it's not in terms of the moisture. So I do see that lake effect getting a little tricky tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. But again, nothing that we can't handle here in January, Northwest Indiana. Okay. And then it's out of here. Lake effect will continue as cold air comes across, may target LaPorte County as we go into the midweek. I'm not anticipating big problems here in the region. And look at this. I love this map. Usually I don't share the National Weather Service stuff, but I love what they did here. And this goes right in line with what our forecast has been saying. This is the approximate timing of that lake effect snow. And you get the idea. Northeast flow brings that band into areas of southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois. And then as that flow becomes a little bit more northerly and then eventually northwesterly, that band will pivot along the shoreline of Lake Michigan. So we're talking, they're looking at Chicago between 12 and 6. And then getting into Northwest Indiana, they're thinking 6 to midnight. And I love that timing of it. I like the 7 o'clock time in terms of moving in, but we'll see how this ends up going. But either way, just keep that in mind. Once we get to tomorrow evening, this band will be moving into Northwest Indiana. It may sit for a little bit, for a couple hours, and then it should be eastbound, heading into areas like LaPorte County and Porter County. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with in terms of impacts from the storm system. Not really tied to the storm system, but still, if we didn't have the storm system, we wouldn't be dealing with that snow of the lake effect variety tomorrow. So that's where we're at. So just in summary, before we go long-term here, just in summary, we've got the big storm system downstate. today into earlier tomorrow. Don't deal with it. All right. If you don't have to drive south, if you can delay your plans, please do so. Just a side note on that, I have gotten a lot of messages for folks that are driving to Kentucky or down into southern Indiana Monday or Tuesday. I would highly discourage that as well, even on Tuesday. And here's why. Kentucky doesn't remove snow quite as well as Indiana does. And Indiana doesn't quite move around snow as well as they should, right? We all know that. We've had some problems. That being said, I feel like the ice in Kentucky is just going to stay there. I really do. I feel like it's still going to be a problem on Tuesday down there. All right. Ice is really tough to remove if you don't have, if they didn't put the brine down, which I know they did. A lot of the state put brine down. I was checking the Kentucky Department of Transportation website. But even if you put brine down, which lowers the freezing temperature of salt, it makes salt more effective against colder temperatures, right? And even if you do that, there's a lot of freezing rain down there, and a lot of that freezing rain, obviously it's liquid when it hits the ground and then freezes. A lot of that is washing some of that away, and the ice is just going to be everywhere down there, and it's just tough to get rid of. And I know from past experience that ice storms don't get cleaned up in a day. So if someone or you have an option and you have to go to Kentucky or southern Indiana, southern Illinois, even southern Ohio, or even Virginia or West Virginia, if you have to travel on business to those areas and drive in a car, you may not even be good tomorrow, probably not, but Tuesday you may not even be good then because of the slow cleanup from that. So just keep that in mind. That's been kind of the messaging I've told people. Now, in terms of snow, that should start to get cleared up by Monday evening for a lot of these spots that get nailed, especially the main interstates. Snow's a little bit easier to clear. The problem with snow is you get heavier cars on it and semis on it, and it's compacting that and it's turning that into ice. So your snow problem does become an ice problem, and that layer is hard to remove on area roadways as well. So still going to be some problems down there next couple of days. I think the ice will be the worst to clean up, but that snow is going to be no slack either, but it should be doable by Tuesday across those zones. Okay. So that's kind of the main thing I'm talking about in terms of the snow system itself. Not going to impact us other than some scattered snow showers tonight, maybe a little coating waking up tomorrow morning. And then we watch for lake effect. Should be pretty quiet during the day tomorrow with just some occasional snow showers. And then we watch that lake effect band come in later tomorrow evening. Okay. A couple inches from that. All right. Nothing to write home about, but could get a little slick around here. Okay. All right. Let's go long term because this gets interesting as well. Here's your lake effect there, Monday into Tuesday. Kind of winds down, and then there's another area of energy that comes across the Great Lakes, just kind of kicks up the lake effect a little bit more with another shot of cold air Wednesday into Thursday. So LaPorte County out towards South Bend, if you have travel plans Wednesday, Thursday, not a huge lake effect event, but should be pretty persistent. So we could get a couple more inches in LaPorte County, especially the extreme northeastern half of the county, a few inches over by South Bend as well. That band may waffle into Porter County briefly Thursday morning before that winds down. Wouldn't be much, but could get a little snow around here Thursday morning in Porter County. And then we watch this system. This is the next one that we're watching. This has the potential to be another winter storm. There's going to be decent moisture with this. The low's further south, and it's moving more of a northeasterly trajectory with it rather than more east to west. So what this will do, this will bring a strip of snow up into the Ohio Valley somewhere, and this is Friday into Saturday. Now, this low is kind of elongated. It's not a real compact low. We talked about this last night. It doesn't have the hallmark of like a major winter storm, kind of like the one we're dealing with right now. But it does have the hallmark of a widespread accumulating snow with maybe 2 to 4, 3 to 6 inches in spots. So we'll have to see how this tracks. But you see that snow on it. What this is going to be is kind of a hybrid of a low pressure down to the south and another weaker low pressure off towards the north. Both of them are going to share the moisture, but they're sharing the moisture versus one low having it all. So it's kind of an interesting look to a storm system. Can't say I've really seen one that kind of looks like this on the modeling, but it continues to show up just like this. So again, could have some snow around here Friday into Saturday. As of tonight's model run, the heaviest snow is down to our south. Wouldn't you know it, right? This seems to always happen. Indianapolis areas downstate could get another bout of some snow on top of the issues they have now. And the good news is it looks like all snow versus ice with this one. And they would have snow as far south as like Nashville. And you know how they deal with that down there. They do, but not well. And then that system goes by, and then there's another system showing up in the modeling later next weekend, kind of a Clipper variety storm that goes by. What that one would do is it wouldn't bring a lot of snow, could bring some snow, but it would kind of renew our cold air again. We keep getting these renewed shots of cold air, so that would prevent us from warming up. And then this is the more interesting one in my mind. It does show up in the GFS as well, but not quite as organized. But this would be the following Thursday into the Friday. This would be the 16th and the 17th. And you can see this would be a low pressure kind of spinning up over us as another shot of Arctic air comes in here. And this one could get interesting because I could see some good snow out of this, and then I could see some good lake effect on the backside of that. So just something to keep an eye on. Again, this is far out. This is the 16th and 17th of January. And then we go through time there, and you can see, does this system come up with another snowstorm? Does this system even exist? We'll see. This is January 20th. But the one thing that we notice in the modeling is that it stays wintry around here. There's no warm up in sight where we even get above the freezing mark. All right. We may come close a couple days in the extended, but it is going to stay on the cold side. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the modeling. Let's just show snowfall real quick, and then I'm done with my part. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer those for you. Here's the Euro in terms of snowfall. Let me zoom in for you so we can kind of get a good look at some of that lake effect. Here we go. So this is the Euro, and you can see it's saying anywhere from 2 to 3.5. It says inches of snow, highest in Lake County. That's from the lake effect that comes in. So again, couple inches of snow, could certainly see that. And then I'm just going to take this all the way through the extended to show you that by January 20th, the Euro is sinking, anywhere from 7 to 10 inches. But keep in mind, any of the snow that does fall, okay, remember, this is getting into fantasy land, but any of the snow that does fall is going to stick around, all right? It's not going to melt off right away. So, if we get 7 to 9 inches between now and January 20th, it's 15 days out, that's not too bad. That would whiten things up, and it's not Christmas anymore, so it's not festive, but I think we can handle snow, and we're okay with the look of it in January, right? And then here's the GFS in terms of lake effect. That's what I want to check. It has barely any lake effect getting into our region. Again, these are global models. I usually don't use these for lake effect, but I want to show you big picture too, so we'll kind of combine them. And then you can see GFS just brings more snow in here. Not a ton, but some, with the lake effect snow being the prominent feature there in the forecast. And my favorite, the Canadian model, let's check it for lake effect. It handles this band of lake effect pretty well. You can see it stacks up a good 3, maybe up to 6 inches in the Chicagoland area tomorrow evening. I could see that if that band persists and if it's thick enough. And then it moves into the region from west to east and produces anywhere from 2 to 3, maybe 4 inches of snow. I like that in terms of kind of what that looks like. Just watch how it kind of swings down the lakeshore. See how that kind of moves across the lakeshore. So that's that. So I do like the way that looks. But in terms of the forecast, that's kind of what we're dealing with. Again, we've showed some of these cameras to you, what they're dealing with downstate. It is certainly a slow go. Boy, that doesn't look like anything's happening, wherever that is. I don't know what I'm getting into here. We're just clicking around on these maps. So there you go. Lots of problems as you get downstate. Okay. All right. So let's dive into your questions. Be happy to answer your questions. I do appreciate you guys joining me here on this Region Weather Live. We always do this Sunday evening, so you can join us every week to chat about all this. Let's see. I'm gonna start here. Okay, Iron Jim says, "Hi Matt, if you could retire, where would you live?" That's a really good question. Iron Jim, we've had our sights kind of on the Carolinas because like towards the mountains probably. Because you'd have beach if you wanted it. You'd have to drive a little ways. You'd have cities if you want it. And then you'd have the mountains, which my wife and I are big mountain people. We just, we feel at home in the mountains. We just travel there. It's not like we live in the mountains, but something about it's just kind of freeing with nature. You get the good views. So that's probably where we go. And you get a little bit of everything weather-wise. You get the heat, you get the storms and all that. But other than that, I wouldn't have it any other way than forecasting here in the Midwest. I'll tell you that. All right, Tiffany asked a great question. What about driving to Texas tomorrow or Tuesday? Now, Tiffany, it just depends on your route. You can go around this system if you want to. So let's kind of plan your route here real quick. I wouldn't go south. That's the only thing I wouldn't do is I would not go south, okay? And you're going to have to somehow get through like Missouri and Kansas at some point. So that's really a tricky one. And you're going to have to pick the cities that can plow snow a little bit better. So here's where the storm system is now, okay? So, Tiffany, if you're heading down, all right, she asks about what about driving to Texas tomorrow or Tuesday? I mean, you could go west on 80 and then catch it south, but you'd have to go through Kansas, and Kansas is a mess right now. Missouri's a mess, and it's going to be a mess downstate. So that's just tricky. Your best bet is to fly. I know you may not have that option if you're talking about driving. I mean, that's a long drive to begin with, but your best option is to fly. You'd skip over the whole thing. But yeah, that's going to be a messy drive just because that cleanup. The storm's going to be out of here, but that cleanup it just takes a while, especially Kansas and areas. Missouri's pretty good at handling snow. They're about as good as Kentucky, where it's like, it's okay. There'll still be ice on the road next week, but man, just be careful if you've got to do that. All right. Katie says, heard reports of thunder snow. Right. Where's Cantori was out this morning with some thunder snow. He was freaking out as usual. But yeah, there's been a lot of thunder and lightning with this. There's also been thunder with the freezing rain and sleet. Which is just indicative of what the atmosphere is doing. I mean, it's got tremendous lift with storm systems like this, so you get a charge in the atmosphere at times, and it's really incredible. But yeah, there's been a lot of thunder snow reports, Katie. There's also been reports, as I mentioned, of thunder freezing rain, I guess you'd call it, and thunder sleet. And then they have the thunderstorms down towards the south. So pretty incredible stuff. All right, let's see. Susan says, my granddaughter's in Houston, Texas tonight cheering for a national championship game. They'll be taking a bus home to Naperville after the game. What their travel home be like? So they're going to be okay, Susan, until they hit. It depends on their route, but they're going to be okay until they get into the Kansas, Missouri, Kentucky corridor. All right, and that's going to get tricky. I'm telling you, those roads are not going to be good down there even tomorrow. So that's not going to be an easy ride home for them. It will be initially for the first couple hours, and then once they get up here, obviously we'll be okay. But boy, it's in between. I mean, look at the real estate that the system takes up. You got the heavy snow component, the sleet, freezing rain component, the severe weather component. That's more of a now thing, right? You don't really deal with that after unless there's damage. But just incredible how big this storm system is, just in terms of real estate percentage. And you're welcome for sure. Yeah, Russ, some snow showers around tonight. I could see a coating, maybe an inch by morning in spots. The snow showers are going to kind of do this on radar. They're going to kind of pulse where you see a little snow pop up in spots. It'll go away. You'll see another little area come in and kind of go away because it's all battling dry air. So I could see some snow waking up tomorrow morning a little bit. And then that lake effect we'll have to keep an eye on. I could see several inches from that, mainly targeting Lake County, and then lesser amounts as you go east as that band shifts, okay? Let's see. Wendy's got a birthday coming up, January 12th. Happy early birthday, Wendy. Wendy's heading to Grand Rapids on January 12th. Let's fast forward. That's going to be approaching that storm system that's coming in. So, yeah, this one here. Oh, I'm in the wrong model. Same storm system, though. All right, here we go. Let me change this to this, and then we'll go to January 12th for you. Yeah, so this storm system will be coming in here. It just depends on how that looks. It doesn't look like a huge storm system, but again, this would be a clipper, which would bring snow and then lake effect snow to areas like Grand Rapids. So it may get a little snowy up there for your birthday trip. There's a lot of time in between that doesn't have snow, but it just happens to be for those dates in particular, we would have a storm system moving in. So we'll see. But again, there's a good chance for snow on that trip at some point. Okay. Let's see. Terry asks, how about South Bend and Fort Wayne, or how about South Bend and Fort Wayne? My husband drives both ways every night for work around 6 to 8 from Highland, delivers fossils. Oh, wow. What a trip. Oh, man. This time of year, I bet that trip gets really tricky at times. Very good, though. Yeah. So Fort Wayne's going to have some snow because the system is kind of working up that direction. It's not going to be anything crazy for Fort Wayne, though. Let's check their totals. I haven't done a snowfall forecast for them. But in terms, I know what the state of Indiana looks like, and it's not much. Yeah, Fort Wayne's going to get a couple inches from this, but nothing like what they're getting downstate. All that downstate heavy snow is going to stay downstate, okay? So we're not looking at a ton of snow for Fort Wayne itself, but they do have some snow, and again, it doesn't take much, and I'm sure your husband knows this. It doesn't take much to cause problems if the roadways are untreated. So here's kind of a look at what the snowfall forecast looks like, all right? Great question, though. Lori, I don't think very much for Porter Boone Grove area. what, again, a coating for everyone tomorrow morning, I think, is possible. And then we'll watch that lake effect band. But by the time that lake effect gets to Boone Grove, it should be moving in and out fairly quickly, like within a couple hours. So I don't anticipate a lot of snow. And that lake effect, again, Lori, does not arrive until later tomorrow evening. Okay, we're talking after the evening rush hour. So a little bit of hit or miss snow now and then until then, and then we'll be dealing with that. Okay. All right. LC asks, we're supposed to fly back to Midway on Wednesday. Do you think there'd be any issues or cancellations? LC, I don't think so. No, you should be just fine getting into Midway on Wednesday. I'm not anticipating anything there, so you should be okay. Ethan asks, could there be snow squalls that are lake effect? Yeah, Ethan, for sure. Most snow squalls that occur are lake effect, Ethan. So, they don't, Arctic fronts are really the only other thing I can think of that produce snow squalls other than lake effect snow. We don't usually call it a squall when it's within, a winter storm itself. That's just a winter storm and you get consistent snow out of that. So yeah, for sure. And Ethan, we talked about this last night on the broadcast, that there's going to be just multiple chances for lake effect to continue. One of the things we'll have to keep an eye on is the amount of ice out over the Great Lakes, because this cold air, every single minute, we're forming a little bit more ice, especially on shallow lakes like Lake Erie. We've already seen some develop on Lake Huron. Superior's developing some along the shores. Not saying they're going to freeze over. It's really hard to freeze over most lakes except for Lake Erie, but we are developing more ice on the lakes. And what that does is it kind of shrinks the area of maximum evaporation on the lake. So if you have a wide open lake, all of that water can evaporate and go towards lake effect snow production. Whereas if you have that same lake, but you have half of it that's frozen and there's only a little area open, that is basically your maximum evaporation. So there's not as much water going into lake effect events. So we tend to get less and less intense lake effect events as we get into January, February, and even March to that degree. The other thing is, as the lake temperatures drop, lake effect snow is driven on that. One of the things that drives it is that difference between air temperature and water temperature. All right. We're usually looking at about 16 to 18 degree difference is what you want to produce good lake effect snow. And as that water temperature comes down into the 30s for a lot of the lakes, you have a 20-degree air mass coming across. That's not really that efficient for producing lake effect snow. You need like teens or zero or single digits to produce some heavier lake effect snow. So as we get further and further into winter, and as we start to see the ice start to develop on the lakes, we'll see less and less intense lake effect events. But there are plenty of opportunities really the next 2 weeks to see some lake effect. LaPorte County up into southwest lower Michigan, out towards Lake Erie, northeast Ohio, Pennsylvania, and in New York, and even areas of eastern Michigan as well from Lake Huron. Some good chances for that as well. No, it's not, Brian. No, thunder snow isn't that rare. No, it really isn't. It's rare to experience it, right? That's the rare part of it, Brian. I mean, it occurs. We have thunder snow during lake effect events almost every time there's a lake effect event somewhere with an intense snow band. Most winter storms will produce thunder snow, but to experience it, that's the hard part, because you have to be lined up with where the heaviest snow is typically, and you have to hear it and experience it, right? So I think that's the part, Brian, that people are saying, or maybe people don't understand, but that's the part that's rare, is experiencing it versus it being prominent in snowstorms. And we've had, at one point this morning, there were 80 strikes, 80 thunder snow spots in the country with the storm system. So that's that. Karen heard it recently for sure. Yeah, it's neat. It's just cool. And you're like, what? This is crazy, right? Elaine, I appreciate that. Elaine, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate that. Thanks for the kind words as well. Deborah is traveling to south side of Indy tomorrow, or better wait till Tuesday. Deborah, I would definitely say Tuesday on that. I mean, they're getting snow down there pretty good right now. There's some icing coming in south of Indy. Give them a day to clean it up. I think Tuesday, I would, without a doubt, I would say Tuesday is the way to do it for sure. Yeah. So Delia, or Delia, however you say that. I know there's two different pronunciations. I used to be a baseball announcer, so I've dealt with all sorts of names. I love your name, first of all. But second of all, in terms of Crown Point or Hammond area, getting hit by this is kind of what we're looking at for all those that just joined. And then I'll probably let you guys go. I don't see any new questions coming in. But in summary, we've got the system down to the south, so don't travel. Indianapolis is very tricky right now. South of that, it gets icy. It's going to be a mess down there, all right? The northern periphery of the snow is not going to make it to our region. Thank goodness. That's what we were calling for. The models yesterday brought it into our southern counties. I didn't like it, but no, it's going to stay south. I do see some snow showers developing later this evening into tonight. Okay, snow showers. Okay, they'll be on and off. They'll be showery in nature. Could have a little coating tomorrow morning in spots, up to an inch if things go well, but I don't see a lot of snow tomorrow morning. And then what we're going to be watching is going to be the lake effect snow. Whole system starts to curl out. Lake effect develops up in areas of Wisconsin coming off Lake Michigan with that northeast wind. That band of lake effect will pivot slowly into Chicago by tomorrow afternoon. Could be a problematic rush hour for them. And then by tomorrow evening, it works into our area. Okay, it'll come out of Chicago tomorrow evening. We'll see it on radar, little band of lake effect. It could be well organized. It may be broken. Okay, that's going to decipher how bad this thing is for us. But if it is a well organized band of snow, the potential is for it to move into Lake County tomorrow evening, like 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. And it could park there for a little bit, producing a few inches of snow. That would then rotate into Porter, then eventually LaPorte County before going away. But either way, we could have a few inches of snow around here tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal, but again, it does not take much snow to cause problems. So a couple inches can be problematic on surfaces that are not treated and roads that are not treated, okay? So that's really what we're looking at in terms of impacts here. Not high, not off the charts, but we could have some impactful weather around here with that lake effect as it moves in, okay? Delia, thank you. I appreciate that. I love your name. That's just, it's a beautiful name. It really is. Even the letters just look nice. I don't know. That sounds weird, but so Don, same thing for Hobart. Really, Don, what we'd be watching is any of that lake effect snow coming in, a little coating tomorrow morning, but it would be that lake effect later tomorrow evening. And I don't think it's going to sit over Hobart too long, but we could end up with a couple inches in Hobart, lesser amounts actually as you get out towards the east for sure. Maxwell, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. You know, I kind of doubt it at this point if Lake Michigan's going to ice over. It's hard to do, number one. But number two, this air is cold, but this isn't like really cold, right? We're not seeing below zero temperatures and just a massive Arctic outbreak. This is just persistent cold. And so does persistence win with a slow icing of the lakes, or does it need to get done with like a real shot of Arctic air? We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Karen, thank you for the kind words. I certainly appreciate that. You know, I try to be as precise as possible for sure. So Tiffany asking about Crown Point tomorrow, 11:30 noon. Yeah, I think you'll be fine to drive in Crown Point. We're going to keep our eye on that lake effect band well off towards the north, should be well north. Maybe just a few leftover snow showers from the storm system, Tiffany, but you'll be fine. 11:30 to noon tomorrow should be good. Okay. Yes, Delia, I'll remember. Okay. That's awesome. Oh, Sean Lee, I appreciate that. Appreciate you too. All right, Michael, same thing for Maryville tomorrow. Again, a little bit of hit or miss snow tonight, some scattered snow showers, all the messes downstate. We're not going to deal with that at all. Hit or miss snow showers, a little coating for some, maybe up to an inch tomorrow morning for others. It's going to be hard to come by, but I could see it happening. Then we'll kind of quiet down a little bit during the day with just a few flurries, maybe a snow shower here or there. And then we watch that lake effect come in, Michael, and that would be coming out of the Chicago area into Northwest Indiana tomorrow evening rush hour and then beyond. That's what we'd be looking at. Okay. Yeah. Maxwell for sure. Russ, I don't see any warm-ups. I don't, you know, there's some signs of the pattern doesn't flip, but kind of relaxes a little bit in terms of the cold air later this month, but I'm not seeing it on the modeling yet. So we'll see. It does look to stay cold. I'll show you the temperatures here. Let me pull that up. I usually have that for our broadcast. Let me go back to, let's go to the 12Z so we get more days out of it. You can see, I mean, this is what we're dealing with. 20s in the forecast rest of the week, up near freezing as we go into the beginning of next week, but that's followed by another shot of some colder air. So, I mean, you notice these temperatures, there's nothing crazy with this. I mean, this isn't like barbaric Arctic air coming in. A couple of weeks ago, it looked like it, right? It looked a lot colder. It looked like we were going to have teens for highs for multiple days later this week. That air mass has moderated. It's kind of holding to the north a little bit. But overall, I mean, these numbers are below average, right? And to be below average for a good 15-day stretch, I mean, that's a cold January, all right? These are kind of like the days of old where any snow that falls, we keep. We haven't had a winter like this in the weather in a while, but we're not we're just not seeing the snow. We haven't had the snow here locally. Like Indianapolis is going to keep their snow for a while. And a lot of these spots in the Midwest and in Ohio Valley are going to. So there's that. Yeah, JP, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if, February can bring anything, right? I mean, we've had 70-degree days in February before, followed by sub-zero temperatures. So February is when it really, in my mind, gets exciting because you're bringing in warmer air from the Gulf. You're bringing in more moisture. February can get some big storm systems going. March too, right? Because we're playing with more moisture. January storm systems locally are just usually a lot of snow and ice, right? It's usually the colder side of things. So we'll see where we go. All right. Yeah, everyone's ready. Marcus is ready for snow. I see that. All right. That's I'm reading some of your comments. That's good. All right. Well, guys, I'm going to leave you with that. I've got an early bedtime tonight. I've got to do the morning show tomorrow morning, bright and early. So you know what that means, getting up early. But anyway, I do appreciate you guys joining us. Don't forget, guys, regionweather.com. If you go to regionweather.com, you can subscribe to our emails. The last thing you want to do is subscribe to emails. I get it. We are so non-invasive. All right. Every morning during the week, usually, sometimes on weekends, but I'll sit down and I will type up whatever's happening in the region in Northwest Indiana for the day. And I'll make a graphic and I'll attach it to that and I'll send it out. And that goes to your inbox. And that's all you get. All right. Where you can open it up and you could say, oh my gosh, Matt wrote this to me about our weather for the morning, right? It's an easy, non-invasive way to get the forecast for the day without having to scroll through the app. And I usually try to explain what's going to happen versus like just an icon that says partly cloudy with snow. So just know that. So if you go to regionweather.com on the right-hand side, it'll say sign up for email. Enter your email in there, you're done. All right. It'll come to your inbox every single morning. And some mornings I sleep in, all right, on weekends. And so you don't get anything. Okay. But I appreciate that. I mean, Deb says I love my morning email. That's awesome. I do appreciate that. But anyway, just something for you. I don't get anything out of it. I promise. I'm not making bank off of this or anything like that, but I just want you guys to know that's an option. Also, we're on the radio side of things. We're on Lakeshore Radio, Lakeshore Public Radio, my old employer back in the day, doing radio for them, X-Rock 103.9, Indiana 105.5, and Z107.1. So you can hear our forecasts, not just on there, but discussion as well. We'll have some weather discussions on there to keep you updated as you're on the go or maybe in the office. So thank you for spending time with me tonight. Guys, drive safe. If you have any friends or family downstate or anywhere in the storm system, my thoughts are with them. And I hope everyone's safe out of this. Winter storm, it's January, but this one is a pretty good one for areas downstate and a lot of the Ohio Valley. So, the hype is there for this, and the hype is well-deserved for a lot of the stuff going on down there. But for us, not a whole lot. We'll keep our eye on that lake effect snow for tomorrow. Okay? All right. Have a good night.